Thank you. The MC has kept very well to the Ugandan tradition, as you can see, with a brief ambush of what can we say about Uganda. My name is Dr. Molin Mugisha. I'm living in Den Haag, and I see Uganda as the country in which I grew. I was born and raised in Uganda until I was about 30 years old that I came to Holland. So my Uganda flows in my blood. I have fond memories of Uganda, and I try to go there every year. And what takes me to Uganda, much as I feel very settled in Holland, is the feeling of being at home. I still feel very at home in Uganda, in the sense that the familiar smells of food, being a country that has over 30 different tribes, you can imagine we have different foods. And having grown up in Kampala, you get an exposure to all the foods. So that's what I miss in Uganda. Although it's not as bad now as it used to be, because we have some people in the food industry here who know that now you can get almost anything you want from Uganda in terms of food. In Amsterdam, in The Hague, in Holland. It's different from 10 years when I came, when I used to cook gonja like matoke because I really wanted the taste of it. But what I know is that it's not the same. It doesn't have the warm taste, for example, when I cook my matoke here. So I really love the food variety that we have in Uganda. Another thing that draws me to Uganda all the time is the people. When I arrived in Holland, the culture shock was, oh, everybody seems to care only for themselves. In Uganda, everybody cares for everybody else. People are very welcoming. And for the children, when you tell your friends about Uganda, the one thing you have to always say is that in Uganda, everyone is welcome. Because in Uganda, we are so many different people living in the same place, different tribes, we look different, and yet we feel the same. So I miss the people. I miss walking on the streets of Kampala and everybody says hello. I hope they still say hello to everyone because it has changed a bit. Another thing that I wish I had done more often when I was in Uganda, which I now miss, is the tourism. I wish I had gone more to the national parks. Now I see it on National Geographic. Now I see it when Kenya advertises their wildlife. I wish I had done that more. The touristy things. Going to the source of the Nile, going to the national parks, going to the mountains. People pay a lot of money to go to Uganda to see mountain gorillas. I lived there for 30 years, I never saw them. So I miss that. I wish I did that more. So when you get a chance to go to Uganda, look out for those things. Another thing that I miss about Uganda, and maybe children may not like this very much, was the sense of discipline. It's not there now so much, but it was there when I was growing up. You knew what you were supposed to do, and you did it, and you knew what would happen if you don't. So when I was growing up, this is important for the children, I knew that if I get in trouble at school, I'm also in trouble at home. Now what I miss with my children is that sometimes you feel, oh, if you get in trouble at school, your mommy will defend you. That I miss, because I think it was a good, valuable culture. I knew if I was in trouble with a teacher, I was in trouble with mommy. If I didn't do my homework, I was in trouble at home, also at school. So that sense of discipline, I'm trying to do something about it by making sure that my children know it. And I miss when we are talking about, there was this, I think everybody knows, when they were talking about when we were growing up, there were over 40 different reasons to be beaten. And it was the same, whether you did this or did that, you were beaten anyway. We didn't grow up feeling we were abused. We grew up feeling that they were putting the value of discipline in us. So I miss that. But I tell that to my children every day, and they know. So I have a little bit of Uganda in my home. And what I'm trying to do now is to make sure they don't forget the Uganda that I grew up in. So I teach them the language, at least the basics. And now I begin to write some literature that the children who are here can read because they love to read. When we were growing up, we were forced to read. Now we read because we want to read. So I start to make some books for kids to read about Uganda, about the languages in Uganda, about the traditions in Uganda, about the foods in Uganda. And as I make more, I hope I'll bring Uganda to the Netherlands. So as I struggle to integrate into Holland, I also struggle to make it a two-way process, so that I'm only not learning Holland, I'm also teaching Holland about Uganda.
About what they know about Uganda, when they went there, what they think about it, whether it means anything to them, being born here in the Netherlands. So Lisa, you will start, and then Lina.
Hello everybody. My name is Lisa, and my Ugandan name is Nabuma. Okay. I'm 15 years old and I live in the Netherlands. My experience of Uganda was like 8 years ago, and it was very fun, and I went there for 1 year. Maar in ieder geval, ik moest zeg maar, mijn school moest ik weer overdoen, mijn klas moest ik overdoen. En ik had een taalachterstand, dus ik moest alles weer gaan inhalen. En ze wilden mijn basis geven goed af, maar ze gaven me uiteindelijk kader. En nu zit ik op MAVO en nu ga ik misschien naar HAVO. Dus ja, het was wel, ja. Oeganda was wel echt een leuke tijd. Het was een tijd om nooit te vergeten. En ik ben echt blij dat ik daar naartoe ben geweest. Want ik had ook mijn opa leren kennen, maar die is helaas overleden. Maar het was echt een leuke tijd. Ik weet niet hoe ik het moet omschrijven, maar je moet echt naar Oeganda gaan, zou ik zeggen.
Hello, my name is Linda. My Ugandan name is Namazi. The last time I've been to Uganda was last summer. We went for 6 weeks and we stayed at my Jaja's place, my mother's mother. And to be honest, it was a different type of experience. I've been many times there, but last year I've learned more than the other times that I've been there. I realized more that people are more thankful. Children, they appreciate more things than us children here because we don't have much. So it also made me really realize that I should be thankful for what I have now in Holland. And it also taught me to love my family, because seeing my family in Uganda, it was hard to leave them because I'm not going to see them for a long time. And it's a beautiful country. It has, to be honest, you feel more free and more appreciated there. also because the people are so kind. So yeah, it was a really different experience.
Is there anything bad you can say about Uganda?
The president.
You're all looking nice. We are here to celebrate our 56th anniversary independence, and I've been here for almost 20 years. But if I have to compare Uganda and in Holland, yeah, Uganda is really a nice country in so many ways. The only difference, the only good thing here is that when you're poor in your house, and on the street you cannot show it. You cannot go without food. In Africa, so many people are going without food, the weather. We are lucky today is a nice day, but the weather is really most of the time is really terrible. And the food, I miss the African food. I really miss the African food. The food has taste. I miss the people because the people they are warm. Yeah, some Dutch people, they say that to us that the Ugandan people are warm. Yeah, I really don't have much to say, but yeah, that's the I have to share.
Thank you very much. Maybe one question, Barbara. What's your experience raising up children here in the Netherlands as compared to if you had raised the children in Uganda?
Yeah, the experience is really not good because yes, it's not good, and I always tell my kids that when we are inside the house, it is African culture, and outside the house, it's Holland, and I'm trying to pass the values of African culture to my children, though some of the values they don't appreciate them. Yeah, but African kids in Africa, they are really well disciplined, and I really appreciate that. And I hope my kids can also grow up to pass that to their kids too, to my grandkids later when they are ready to give them to me.
I'm so proud is I was born in Uganda. I was born in Uganda and I was raised in Uganda, and in the beginning, sometimes when I was a young child, I had dreams. Like whenever I saw some of the things, like I used to think, oh, Uganda, we are poor, Uganda, we are this, but God giving me the chance that I've traveled, and I've been also to the Netherlands, I've been to America, I'm very, very appreciative that I was born in Uganda and I was born in Africa. And I'm very proud, I'm very appreciative because it gives me my sense of belonging. I no longer want to be anybody. I want to be my Uganda. I want to be myself. And it encourages me also to tell other people, like our children, at times because of our Kawekeheya and everything, we would like to be other people, but the best thing is to be who you are. And it always makes me proud, even with my dark color, this chocolate dark color, I really like it, because whenever I go and you say, oh, please, who are you? I'm Bridget from Uganda. I'm able to express my country. And when we are growing up, Uganda used to be a very good country. We had discipline, we respected people, and it's like whenever you are, even if that time we are not really told that you are an ambassador, but you are a representative, whenever you are, if you are a Ugandan, I want to tell you that you are a representative of your country. So whatever you do, it will reflect. Bw'okola ekirungi w'oli, bagira nti oh n'omuwala Omunayuganda, bw'okola ekibi, still it will write oli omuwala Omunayuganda. So I'm proud of senga tubeera n'empisa. Mulimu ebintu ebyo bye twalinga tugamba nti kibibi, or like sometimes bw'ogamba omwana nti banaye bw'obuuza ku muntu amba ebyo byammwe mami nammwe. But greeting another person is a kind of respect. We are social people. Tumanyi okugabana. And also, like sometimes there are things like we say in Holland, like, oh, that people, they don't integrate over their culture. But I think, buli muntu alina kyalina munsi. Bwetwanga tuli social, bwetwanga it's easy for you to go and approach another person. Over I so much try to integrate with other people, but I've come to see not everybody is open. Okugenda okumitima omulala. Ate kati now in Netherlands, people are afraid. In human nature, people are afraid of another. Abantu batalina kye batamanyi. But when we're open, go and meet another person. Genda omubuuza oli otya, tell him so oli otya. Who are you? I'm so and so, I'm from Uganda. People need our warm upbringing. People need our stories. And we need to expose Uganda. Tujye exposing only mubibi, naye tujye exposing ne mu birungi. Most times tugamba aba president mubi oba iki. I think the first person to sell your country is you. Or like sometimes there were a bit of politics and everything. Nobody is right. Olaba namakaga pege nyingi gatulema okufuga. Omwana gwozaala kuwosibanya pinakola he reaches a time nakugamba ekigambo. So but let's be an ambassador everywhere where we go. And another, be an ambassador of your country, express yourself very well, love one another, hug one another, and preach love. Ranga awali opagala, you're not wali chilema. What else can I say? Yeah, really, let's be appreciative to one another. Those are Ugandans, tulineti, never to call but we always try to be late. Nayenga chibi, okumanya chibi, nti bwe tutakikkiriza nti kibi tetugenda kukyuka. At one time, nalina omulimu gwe nali nkolako, kati mukama wange n'amala nga mudaati. Nanga Bridget, you are a very nice person. Bw'otuuka wano, everybody feels at home. But always, you are always a bit late. You are always late. I'm not really always late. I'm 5 minutes late. Like 3 minutes late. When I get sometimes it's 3 minutes. Nanga Bridget, I want you to okitegere kino kibi. Nanga kino senga right day gwojokolako. Just by 1 minute we obanga ovuddewo. N'ateekwa okubeera ku duty naye n'abanga avuddewo. Senga mu buli 1 minute mubaamu omuntu afa, omwaka gugenda okuggwako libosa abantu bameka. So it made me to think more about that. Hale. Those are some of the things, yeah.
Bridget, I realize you are also a mother, and you're talking very well about Uganda and the values you picked when you were growing up. How are you really practically trying to impart these values into your daughter?
Exactly, not only my daughter, okay, through my organization, Sitting African United Women, sometimes also Lucy teams open. But I just have to say that I try to be an example whenever I am. Uganda, I sell myself well. Chasing Opagala is promoting Uganda. Nemuala wange, Zemuala wange, Bane Mbuna Bala, not to customize 16, Miss Mani 18, Zemuala, without Banga, I also look another side. Mbassimulage up to today she has to preach. Back already to take care of her.
naye abaana bano musimanya bana mwesunga n'okwesunga mwezi 18 mulekerawo okubuuza abantu.
Uganda is a republic ever since the colonialists left. It's the reason why we are here celebrating the independence. And when they left, Uganda became a republic. And we are headed by a republic. It's either headed by a president or a prime minister, but we have a president, and currently we have a president. His Excellency Dr. Museveni has been there for more than 30 years, and is being deputed by Vice President, Right Honorable Edward Chiwanu. He's also he's a former Speaker of Parliament, by the way, so we are privileged to have him also currently as the Vice President. We have the Prime Minister. He is Right Honorable Ruhana Rugunda, and from there that's the executive, because the government has 3 parts. We have the executive, it's the one I just narrated: President, Vice President, Prime Minister, and the ministers as you know them. And then we have the legislature, where the Parliament follows. They make laws, they govern the rules and regulations that run the country. They are responsible for them. And the Parliament of Uganda is headed by the Right Speaker. Right now, she's the Right Honorable Rebecca Kadaga. She has been here in the Netherlands. We had a conference last month. It was organized by the Ugandan community in the Netherlands, and she was there as a guest of honor. We are privileged to have him. We took part. And she has a deputy who is the Right Honorable Jacob Olanya. And we have court clerks, and there we have various categories. And we also have multi-party system in Uganda, where we don't have only one political system, we have 2. We have right now we have the ruling party, and we have the members of opposition. They both sit in the parliament, and they deliberate on the issues that are essential to the running of the country. And we have the ruling party, which is the NRM, the National Resistance Movement, and is headed by His Excellency himself, the Right Honorable Dr. Museveni. And the leader of the opposition in Parliament is, of course, headed by the leaders of opposition. It's referred to as the leader of opposition in Parliament. And we have the various members of Parliament from both the ruling party and opposition. So together they run the show. They know what the country needs, and then they try to deliberate about them. And then we also have the judiciary, which is the legal arm of government, where the rights of the people are being protected. It acts as a watchdog on the 2 organs of government above, where we have the executive and the legislature. So it's like the watchdog. If they step on people's toes, people's rights, the judiciary will be right there, to say, hey, listen, you shouldn't do this and this. And we have the judiciary is headed by the Right Honorable Chief Justice, and his name is Honorable Bart Katulebe, and his Vice Chief Justice, we have is a new one, Right Honorable Owini Odolo, and we also have, because we have 3 courts in the country, we have the Supreme Court, which is the highest court in the land, and is headed by the Right Honorable the Chief Justice, Bart Katulebe, and then the Vice Chief Justice, Odolo Owini, he heads the Court of Appeal, which is also the second court in the hierarchy, the second in hierarchy in the land. It can also sit as the constitutional court, where we have constitutional matters deliberate about presidential petitions, who lost, who won, and all that. We have that. Then the constitutional court, which is the Court of Appeal, also sits to deliberate on such important issues. And we also have the high courts, which are the highest, the 3rd in hierarchy, and is headed by the principal judge.
So we are here to celebrate 56 years of independence of the PAL of Africa, and that is Uganda. We have a lot of things to talk about, and we shall have some very nice entertainment later in the day. But first, as we always do, we shall have a brief prayer. We shall have our national anthem.
Heavenly Father, we thank you for your greatness. We thank you for the bright day, and we thank you for whatever you have managed us to organize here. Lord, we know that unless you build a house, the laborers are in vain. So Lord, as we are, we bring our function before you, that you be with us in whatever we are going to do. Be our leader and be our guest, and speak to us as you also speak to your people. In Jesus' name. Amen.
Ambassador of Uganda to the Benelux, Honorable Miriam Black. She's seated just here on the left. We're also most honored to receive the prominent ambassador to the Netherlands of the Republic of Tanzania. Irene, most welcome.
Welcome to all of you, especially welcome to my dear friend and colleague and neighbor, Ambassador Irene from Tanzania. We had our National Day celebrations on Tuesday, the 9th of October, and I hosted a reception at the residence, which is in Brussels. We had about between 140, 150 people coming, most of them, of course, diplomats and, heads of organizations, also defense attaches of many countries, because we also have a defense attache in Brussels now. And what we decided to do was to give people at least a taste of Uganda to go back home with. So we had wrapped some few presents, and then of course in some packages there were the little tiny tots of waraji, but some of them got finished. And now we have the packages. One is tea, different teas that are all originating from Uganda. There's a lady in Brussels who's actually selling them in about 40 shops already. There's moringa tea, there is the lemongrass tea. They are very other, all of them are not black teas, but these biologically, bio teas and good for our health. And I think that's what we need when we are living abroad. What we want is something from Uganda, which is very good for our health.
This year, Nedas decided to participate in celebrating 56 years of independence of Uganda.
First of all, I would like to congratulate you all, even though it's belated, on our 56th anniversary of our Independence Day. This was a long time ago that we decided we can handle our own affairs ourselves, and we become independent from having been a protectorate area of the British colonial government. So I think all of you know, and most of even me, I was not in Uganda, I was not born in Uganda, but many of you here were not born, I guess, when we had our Independence Day celebrations. So I think the expectations were high, very, very high. Everybody, of course, jumping and being happy and, lowering the Union Jack flag and then raising our very own Uganda flag. It must have been a very, very proud moment for all Ugandans at that time. And I think we set out very well. Uganda at that time, I hope Alozi is agreeing with me, but I believe, I was, as I said, not there at the time, but that Uganda was one of the richest countries out of the three. if I say Kenya, Tanzania, Uganda, we were then in what was called the East African Union. That one is a piece of history because we had one currency, the shilling, East African shilling. We had one airline, we had one railway, we had one bank, we had everything one. Yeah, that's how integrated we were. We had one passport, the East African passport. So I think we set up indeed very well with high expectations that needed to be met, and I believe that we were all together and feeling as one East African Union. Of course, yeah, we all know history. I don't have to give you a lesson here. We've had different regimes in Uganda. Some of those regimes have possibly been destroying what had been achieved economically, because as I said proudly, I think Uganda was one of the countries that was very well to do among the three countries. But because of our politics mainly, we started sliding down and destroying a lot that had been built over the years. We all remember the huge coffee boom in the early 70s when the prices of coffee were very high, which of course Idi Amin, even though we speak negatively about him because he has brought us a lot of misery, at the same time, I think certainly in the early years, he brought us a lot of prosperity as well. We should not forget that. Because if I look back at my mission, for instance, our building, I don't know, some of you may have actually been there in Brussels. That building was purchased by Idi Amin. The former residence, which had to be destroyed because it had not been properly maintained, was also bought by Idi Amin. So even my residence, where I stay now, which was actually the residence for the deputy, also was bought in the years of Idi Amin's regime. As well as, you know, some of you may have been to New York. We have Uganda House there. It's just right opposite the United Nations. It was an empty plot, or maybe some small building on it. I can't know that. But Idi Amin saw it and said, "That's where I want to be. I'm going to buy this. We're going to build a 14-story building, which was higher than our neighbors, the Americans, who are right on the corner." Because he said he wanted to stand on top of the building and look down at the Americans. So that is what happened. But the 14-story building was a good investment because it's still making us a lot of money as we speak now. I believe you are in it. You are our tenant, as well as Burundi is our tenant in that particular building. So you can imagine, let us say that each regime, no matter how bad we label it now, also brought in some good things. And that is why where we are now, in Uganda, where we are, in the level of development that we have achieved over the years. So, of course, it's unfortunate. Anyway, our Tanzanian friends helped us in the later years when they started liberating Uganda with the Tanzanian Liberation Forces, together with the other forces that we have gathered already in Tanzania. So Tanzania goes a long way back with us. Then we still had a few other regimes which were not also doing very well, as you know. They were short-lived until we had the elections in December 1980, which brought back Milton Obote. So from Milton Obote, who had of course been ousted by Idi Amin in 1972. We then had a military coup in 1985 when Tito Okello took over. We had the peace talks in Nairobi. I happened to be in Nairobi at that time when I started to get to know all of those who were involved in the struggle and the leadership of at that time, he was not yet the president, but Yoweri Kaguta Museveni, and who took power then on the 26th of January, 1986. So this is a tiny bit of history, I think. Uganda as we know, and that's why I'm always so proud to be able to talk about Uganda to foreigners, because I can speak from the heart when I talk about Uganda. Even though you see this Mzungu face, sometimes not easy to tell them that I'm actually a Ugandan. And sometimes, just to make you laugh, part of my staff, when I come somewhere, and of course my staff, they then think that he or she is the ambassador when I come with them, because they can't imagine there's a Mzungu who's an ambassador. So they said later on, when I'm then introduced, and they quietly tell my staff, you don't have enough black people to represent you as an ambassador? So you may have heard that similar comment. But as I said, I have had a long history with Uganda. In 1986, I came a few days after liberation. Then got married to the first medical doctor in the Bush War, Dr. Ronald Bata, who was a lieutenant colonel and who had been the first doctor to have joined the NRA Bush War in 1981. So yes, for me also, I've been there for many years. And of course, I can't be more proud to represent Uganda as a non-original Ugandan. And when I was made an ambassador, I went with the late Wapakabulo. Yeah, you remember him, he was my Minister of Foreign Affairs then. We were coming to The Hague. I was already there. And Wapakabulo, the minister, had asked me, he said, Miriam, come with me tonight. There is this party reception for the opening of the ICC, and I want you to come there with me. So we were standing there on these high tables. It was a walking buffet, and I saw some of these other Wazungu coming towards us. So I introduced my minister, and he was also the first deputy prime minister. Then Honorable Wapakamulo introduced me and said, this is our new deputy ambassador, accredited to Belgium, but mainly being responsible for the Netherlands. So I saw this Mzungu man looking at the minister, then looking at me, looking at the minister, then eventually he dared to ask, do you have white people in Uganda? So Honorable Wapakabulo, he was very, very good in the sense always humorous. And he immediately said, oh, we have them white, yellow, red, blue, brown, any color you name it. We have it in Uganda. So that was the end of the argument. Yeah. So later on, this man appeared to be a lieutenant colonel who, from the, what do you call the institute in The Hague, where we have international law and the Klingendahl Institute. So through an exchange, we had him come to Uganda and give lectures at our military school. And so I asked him then, you remember that question you posed? Why did you pose that question? He said, Miriam, these receptions and so forth are often so boring. I wanted to be a bit provocative. So I mention it often, because our minister also, he was such a great man and a great diplomat, one of the most interesting and most capable and professionals that we had. So we still miss him in our ministry. So Uganda, we've gone a long way. When I came, I don't know whether some of you were there in 1986, maybe with a show of hands, who was there in 86? The rest of you are already out here. Yeah? Or somewhere. Well, anyway, when I came, it was just after liberation, so I was driving through the industrial area, and everything was just open. You could just go into a factory, and you could see there were lots of machines there. Whatever could have been stolen or taken off to be used elsewhere had already been utilized. There was absolutely nothing that was working on 6th and 7th Street. So we had actually come, because I'm the one who chartered an aircraft for the new government, So with the late Honorable Kiseka, the late Elia Kategaya, Sam Male, who's also an ambassador. We came with a Juba, also the late. So we had an aircraft full. And then we had come with our little brown paper bag from Kenya with toothpaste and with soap. And I believe even the eggs, well, we didn't carry them, but the eggs used to come even from Kenya. That's how bad our economy was. Really, really bad. Just brought to absolutely nothing. You know that the Kenyans, Kenya breweries, would set up a factory in Kisumu to just supply beer to Uganda only. That was only for exporting beer to Uganda. And so everything that we had, we either, it was imported. We did not even make our own milk when we had lots of cows that we could have utilized, but roads, accessibility, coolers to cool the milk, nothing. I remember that at that point we used to get donated milk from the European Union, milk powder that the Uganda Dairy Corporation was putting with water in these plastic bags, you know, the 1 liter plastic bags. So I think, and I have often been asking myself and asked by others, I mean, I really believe that when a country has been brought down to below zero, it's not just zero, but below zero, nothing was working anymore, it's more difficult to build up a country, yeah, than when you're starting a new one. For instance, Brasilia, the new government capital for Brazil. You have Abuja, which was a new city that was built to relieve Lagos, right? There are a few others that have been built. It's much easier to start from scratch. It's like you can compare it to building a new house. Yeah, you start from scratch. It's cheaper than renovating an old one, because we are now embarking on the renovation of our chancery in Brussels. It's costing a bomb, I tell you. We have to leave the mission. Hopefully we shall start moving away from there and renting somewhere else for about 1.5 years, so that all floors and the whole building can be renovated. So that's why I said it's far more costly to renovate than it is to start from scratch. So it wasn't easy, because if you want to start doing nitil, where we used to make beautiful materials, yeah, all the machinery were there. I remember going to nitil and hardly anything was working. You have to first remove all those old scrap stuff before you can start again. So I think a lot has been achieved, and I think there was an enormous euphoria, because the new NRA, even the Kadogos who used to come, they were searching you on the streets, on roadblocks, but they were very polite and open the boot, madam, and you would open the boot, and then they would check, and then you were allowed to drive off. This was something that nobody had ever experienced prior to that. In some of the bad days, when there was actually total anarchy, because the army was in charge. If you were owning a gun, you could point it at somebody and steal and rob people blind. So I think a lot of discipline and great expectations that people came in with. We started on a very difficult job of rebuilding the country. So I think in all those years, if you come to Uganda now, if you haven't been there, but I have been there since 1986, it is an enormous change. We now have factories, we have good roads, we have things that work. We have Kampala City, of course, is too small now, as we all know about the traffic jams in Uganda. But the traffic jams are a result of economic prosperity, because everybody owns a car, everybody wants to go in the car to their work. So I would like to say, of course, there are problems and challenges that come with development, which we have to actually handle. And that is not so easy. We cause a lot of pollution. We have very unfortunately had a mudslide. You must have heard about it. It was on the BBC News. 30 people have so far been buried. but I believe that a lot of them are still missing. Yes, they are looking for bodies, the Red Cross involved, the army is involved, and so that is a very sad development. In Bududa area, we in 2012, as you may recall, we also had mudslides and landslides there, and the government made an effort to resettle lots of people. I think you know that. But what has been happening as of late is that the people wanted to go back to their origin, to the soil, to the ancestral homes. Well, some of the homes were destroyed, but at least this is where they grew up. And also because they were tempted, because that area of where the mudslides were is a very fertile area. It is mixed with volcanic soil, and if you have that mixed, you can grow anything on those mountains. So a lot of people have come back. And I would say that the reasons why the mudslides happen is always a combination of factors. It is the people coming back who start destroying the trees because they want to grow potatoes and beans and other things. So on a mountainous area, when you start destroying the trees, you also miss the roots of those trees that keep mountain sides together and reinforces it. So that is the human element, I think, that then of course we must not forget that we all are responsible for destroying our planet, and that climate change is not something that we have had no hand in ourselves, each of us. Even every day we take a car, we take whatever, we are contributing to a further slide and a further decline of our planet, when we actually need to preserve it and keep it for future generations. I find it very sad that that is taking place, and we must do a lot more. What is also very sad is that, frankly speaking, apart from the people who have been destroying some of our forests, who are filling in land in the swamps, which is very bad for climate. So those things we have to overcome. We cannot allow them to continue. I must admit, and I think Balozi, you will also agree with me, because you will also have your fair share of destruction that has been taking place. You've also had your floods in Tanzania recently. These huge rainfalls is a consequence of climate change. And I think we have a little bit more negative consequences of climate change taking place in Africa, especially around the equator areas, than the other people have in the rest of the world. Whereas we must also admit that the pollution elements, and we are not so much to be blamed, because most of the pollution that took place and that has been the cause of our heating up, the 1.5, 2 degrees heating up of the earth, is because of pollution caused by the West. But we are in Africa more of a victim of this climate change, whereas we did not actually actively cause it. The level of destruction and the level of problems that we have are not directly caused by Africans, as well as by the very industrialized Western world. So I think these are some tips that I wanted everybody to be thinking of, really do whatever we can ourselves to save our planet, because we all want to leave a planet that is better than we found it when we were born. And the way we are going at it now is actually not the case. We are destroying it, and we hope that everybody who comes after us is going to survive in this mess that we have created. So, and it's affecting us right now, there and then. We didn't want to believe Al Gore when he made these predictions about 15, 20 years ago. People said, oh, he's talking doom, a doom thinker, But really, he appeared to have been right, which is a little bit sad, because we should have all seen it coming and tried to prevent it. And of course, when we see certain countries pulling away from the climate accords that we have, that is even more devastating to the whole world, because we cannot say we are just a small little country, yeah, that we have nothing to see in this world. We are all connected. We are all now part of a global world, a global society. So at the same time, that is why I attach so much value. We luckily had a chance to discuss some few matters of mutual interest with my sister from Tanzania, because I live in Brussels and she's based here. So sometimes we use each other for sharing information. What I believe very strongly in, and which is also part of our objectives as the Netherlands government, is regional integration. It is of vital importance that we start. And I was talking about the East African Union. You remember how integrated it was? It wasn't by far. The EU now, is not by far as integrated as we were in the East African Union. And we destroyed all that because of political reasons. In 1978, 77, 78, the breakup of the East African Union was devastating news. And then in 2001, we had to start again talking about the East African community the way we have it now. And it is like reinventing the wheel, because the countries with their shillings had each created a different type of economy. It was no longer the same. Of course, Kenya had grown so quickly because it became a middle-income country, whereas Tanzania and ourselves are still a least developed country. So these differences make it sometimes very, very hard to now start again, the integration. But really, regional integration is something that we must treasure. We must move forward with the East African community. I mean, the late Gaddafi, you remember maybe some of his sayings, and he said, we must create the United States of Africa. Yes, and people like some of you may start laughing about it. But I think it's always good to keep on having a good dream. Because a dream, you must make it into some reality. And though he was maybe ahead of his time, this is something that we should all be looking forward to. The United States of Africa. Can you imagine if we had that now? You know, how much stronger and more economically powerful we would be. And so that's why we believe, I remember the response of President Museveni to what President Gaddafi had stated, is yes, 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 but we are not ready for that. Now, we need to first get regional integration before we can do a whole continent being integrated. And that is true. You first have to remove your borders or make border crossing is very, very easy. So it is something that I was very proud of, because I was in Uganda last month and I went to the URA and I went to the customs department. And in Nakawa, I was invited there because I wanted to see, because the World Customs Organization is actually, its headquarters is in Brussels. So that's how I become involved. And they were also loading us, Uganda and East African community. It's now Kenya, Uganda, and Rwanda, who have a customs system that is integrated. But it is so modern. If you are there, you have no idea. I was there on the wall, big like this. You see the map of the whole of East Africa or the whole of Africa, whatever you want to get. You just zoom in, and it's all regulated by satellite. And each truck that is in Uganda, can be actually, you put your cursor on that truck and you know what is inside, who is the one who is driving it, what the goods he's having. It is amazing. I didn't know we had such a modern system. I believe it's one of the most, according to the WCO, the best system that we have in the whole of Africa. So it is amazing. You can stop smuggling of goods, and at least you can also tax certain people when you know what is inside. It has helped us to make the delivery times quicker from either Tanzania, Tanga, Dar es Salaam port, or from Mombasa port, which used to take a long time. And all these improvements are helping us to build our economy and to build our economy the way we want it and the way it ought to be. And of course, we hope with all these new systems in place that we can alleviate poverty. Now, Frank, you are asking me, what is it that you can do being here? We of course appreciate very much your contribution to Uganda, because we know that your contributions in terms of remittances, paying for school fees, paying for your sick relatives, paying for anything, that is the contribution you are making to our country, for which we are very grateful, because it helped your families and it helped the country as a whole, because now the remittances are almost at the same level. It's more than $1 billion. That is almost the same as that what we earn on tourism at the moment. And it had already overtaken the income we have from coffee. So that is how important you are. I wanted to say that and congratulate you, each of you, and thank you for the contribution you're making all the time. The only thing is, I wanted, and each time I speak, as I said, I'm very grateful for your contribution on remittances and whatever, but what I wanted you to do, rather than making your 100, 200 euros every month for the upkeep of your families, I want you to make an investment in Uganda. Because I believe that is in the long run much more sustainable than just making your monthly remittances, because that money that you're giving is going in any case, and they need it again the next month, and the next month, and the next month. Now, how are these countries, which we call the Asian tigers, became so big and so important and so prosperous, and so economically successful? Is because most of these young people or families or whatever have great entrepreneurship and started in their little garage, in their little shed, little industries, which we call cottage industries. And now that you are here, working here or living here, at least you have access to modern technology, you have access to machinery, even whether it's new or second-hand. You have sometimes even access to capital, to loans. You have access to the connection, the contacts you are making, your friends and family, relatives here, who could help and say, let's do something together that can make money. Because I personally believe that in our countries, Tanzania likewise, the sky is the limit in terms of investment. There's so many needs that we have. I mean, myself, I was in tourism for many years, but I was the first organization, the first touring company that was receiving visitors from outside to go on safari with in 1990. So I wanted to say that since you have all these benefits, you can actually make more use of those benefits and fortunate aspects of your finding yourself here in the Netherlands by thinking about starting a little cottage industry in your homes. Because I know so many of you who've grown up in rural areas, we have mango trees, they bloom, they make beautiful mangoes, they all drop on the floor, on the ground, because we have no market for them. And you can only eat like 5 mangoes a day maximum, otherwise you become sick. So what we need to do is to make and add value to those mangoes, where you can really reap. You can just pick them up from the ground. You don't even pay for them because some of them are there in public places. So you can imagine, I was thinking always, and I use it as an example because it's the easiest way to do it. If you were, for instance, having your little garage somewhere in Uganda, or your little shed, or whatever, is that you, for instance, here, could buy yourself a drying machine for drying mangoes. We feed your family, of course, you would have to know how to do the process. That is not so very difficult. You don't have to be an academician to know how to dry mangoes. It's something that you can easily learn yourself, be taught from here, or even not here, because here they don't grow mangoes. But at least the system, or the machines that they have here for that purpose, you can take them from here. You start a small cottage industry at home and you teach your family. Now, with dried mangoes, if you wrap them and package them the way that people in Europe are allowing them, you can even find an export market for dried mangoes. Yeah? So mango is a fruit that is very versatile, I find, because you can make, of course you can eat the mango as it is. You can make it into dried mangoes and slice them up, dry them, and then put them in packages. You can make mango jam. Yeah, I don't know whether you have ever tried it, but it's delicious. It's very, very nice and very easy. I've just made, I don't know how many kilos, very recently in August. Then you can make a mango chutney. Yeah, that is the little peppery mixed with everything else. Then you can make mango vinegar. It's also very nice. Vinegar of mango. And the last one, of course, is mango juice. So there are 6 ways and means of using a mango. And we have plenty of them. They grow easily in our country. So if your family could start a small business like that, you help them to develop it, you buy them the ingredients, you maybe, with your contacts here, find them a market for those products, then you will actually be building a sustainable enterprise, no matter how small it starts. And that could actually maintain your families without you, in the long run, having to make your remittances every month, 100 to 200 euros or more, to sustain your families in Uganda. So I just wanted to give you that as a little bit of food for thought, because there are many other little cottage industries that you could also start. It's not the only one. Now, I guess that is the answer to the questions of what can you do for Uganda. I think also we need to be positive about Uganda. I have, in the beginning, I came here in 2003, and I was a deputy ambassador. And one of my tasks, like it is in our mandate as ambassadors, that we have to engage with the Ugandan diaspora. And it was very difficult for me. I think you were there already, Robert as well. But there were some other group, for the Pillar of Africa. That is Ali Balunwa. And I had contacted them because they were sort of the stronger group around. And the first one that I got to know, they refused to meet me. They refused to meet me in 2004, I think. And I said, but why you don't want to talk to me? I am the one who is now the deputy ambassador. I reside in The Hague, and it is my task to actually engage with you. No, you're a Museveni spy. We don't want to hear from you because you're going to be reporting on us, and that's what we don't want. And I said, my goodness me, you people lived in the dark ages, This is a new, modern state and a modern society, and I'm not, I don't deny that, of course I know the president, he's the one who appointed me, but I'm certainly not his spy. I am here to carry the message of Uganda, that it's a beautiful country that we can invest in. It's one of the tasks, but I don't want only these foreign Wazungu investors. I want you also as an investor. You people who are actually having a much greater part of you in your heart in Uganda than any foreigner who has never seen the country, for instance. In any case, we decided with Ali Balunwa and Hutu, you remember? I met them, eventually we decided, let's meet neutral grounds, that was the airport. So I went to Schiphol Airport and we met there in some little restaurant, and that's where I first met them. And So I think I told them, I said, listen, you guys, I know you're all FBC and whatever. I said, I don't care. You can be whatever you want. For me, I don't have to start talking about politics. Yeah? There's a lot of other things that we can talk about. And I must admit that's another thing that I want to commend you for. You are always organizing, of course, weddings, but what is also important, funerals. And getting together, organizing services for people who have passed away, or even for maybe your father or mother who passed away in Uganda. I find that very heartwarming that you are such a close community in that sense, that you all come together in very difficult times and in happy times, such as this one. So I told Ali and Nakutu, I said, listen, let us not talk about politics. Politics only complicates matters, yes? For me, I am there. I represent Uganda as a country, and the head of that country happens to be President Museveni. Now let us try and find a way where we can communicate, yes? Because I need you, and you don't know how things are turning out. Maybe one time you need me too. Yes, when the body needs to be transported back, we as an embassy come involved. Unfortunately, we don't have the financial means to assist, and that's why it makes you, for me, to be even prouder of you, because a lot of the times you are the ones who are getting the money together to transport the body back to Uganda, which is an incredible achievement, I think, and I'm very proud of you that you are able to do that. So I said, let's talk about Uganda, because that is one subject that we have in common, Uganda, because you're born there, you live there. Even for me, I was adopted by Uganda. And so it's in my heart, it's my country. I'm no longer a Dutch national. I've given up and revoked that nationality many, many years ago, and I'm only a Ugandan national. So let us talk about Uganda and what we can do together before we start talking about politics. It's not that I shun politics, not at all, but I do fear to talk about politics as such because I'm not a politician. Yes? And the other day I went to this convention that was organized by Kizza Besigye in The Hague, you remember? Oh, they started talking about politics and Burundi politics and how bad the country was and how bad the leader. And he said, oh no, finally, Ambassador is here. She's going to give us all the answers to the questions we had raised. So when I came on, was any of you there? No. When I came onto the stage, I said I may be the most disappointing speaker you all had over the last 2 days, because if there's one thing that I'm not going to talk about is politics. Because if you had wanted the answers to the questions you have raised, you should have invited a politician and not the ambassador of Uganda. Because I'm here to represent all of you, no matter what your political beliefs are. And I very strongly believe in dialogue, because dialogue is the only way to solve our problems. If there are differences, political ones, have a dialogue. So what I did, I don't know whether some of you, I'm sure you were there, both of you, this little place in Amsterdam Zuid, from the Kabuma, that little bar that was there, very dark place and whatever. So we started organizing get-togethers there. I had there Honorable Orion Okello, Tarsis, Honorable Tarsis Kabrigieri. I've had the Vice President, and many others that I brought there because I believed, and they were all coming from their own volition, because I asked them, I said, the diaspora in Amsterdam and in the Netherlands really would like to meet you, and I think it's a good way to start a dialogue with many people who may not be in agreement with our government, but at least when we bring you can be the one to start talking about the actual situation in Uganda. Because some people have been here for 20, 30 years and have never gone back to Uganda, and we're hearing all these bad stories. Some of them were absolutely not true. And if there is a possibility to have a dialogue, then at least you can hear it from the horse's mouth. And you can debate. Oh, it was so difficult in the beginning when we had these debates. Unruly and whatever, they didn't didn't allow even some of our ministers to speak. They were just noisy. And I took the microphone and I said, listen, we come here in our own volition because we thought we wanted a dialogue. So if you don't want it, then I'll leave immediately, but at least give the courtesy to the people who are VIPs in our country to be heard and to be speaking in a more polite way. So otherwise we don't have to be here. We could be having dinner somewhere and discussing other things than being here with you. So anyway, we finally managed to get the unruly ones to be at least told by the others to say, listen, let us at least be polite and let us extend Ugandan hospitality to the visitors who are here. If you have any difficulties with any of your past or what, please don't hesitate to come and discuss it with me. We want all Ugandans to be able to freely visit your home, visit your country, without any hindrances, any encumbrances, but just be home. Because eventually, I think, when I look at some of the people that have passed away here, everybody wants to go home in the end, isn't it? And you prefer to go home before you actually be in a box rather than, and I think that is what we should aim for. So, is there any other specific question that you have? Because, as I said, there's such a wide variety of issues that I could discuss. I also don't hesitate to talk about recent developments. If you want to hear about the MPs, Bobby Wine, because I don't hesitate to give you answers to that. I just had the other day the Deputy Speaker who came back, who was heading our delegation in Brussels for the Joint Parliamentary Assembly between the ACP and the EU. So he told me that Bobby Wine had just been there the other day in Parliament. He was just being one of the members. He didn't ask for an intervention, but he was just there. And so things have quieted down. Yes, let me just say one thing because I know it may be on your mind and you may think, oh, she's giving you the line of government and what. Yes, that's why I don't want to ask the question, but what I have seen out of this bad few weeks, I was very busy, asked questions by the EU, bilaterally by the countries that I'm accredited to explain the situation post-Arua, if I just may say. It has done a lot of damage to our country. And I want you here, not just as Ugandans, I want you here to also feel somehow you have a responsibility out of the fact that you are Ugandans, to also protect your country against the bad things that they've been saying about it. I mean, some of you may have even been in Amsterdam recently for the demonstration, Free Bobby Wine. I was in Amsterdam then, with the Speaker of Parliament actually, so it is, we had a discussion, very open discussion with her as well the following day after the demonstration. But you see, one thing, one glitch, and your whole reputation goes down the drain. The reputation that you have to build up over years. And sometimes it hurts me very much because Bobby Wine, of course, he has a lot of followers with the youth. And I think that will be the last issue that I will discuss before you may have questions. The youth, yes, the youth are very important. They are our future. And there are very many disgruntled youth. We have like 30,000, 40,000, I think, a year coming out of universities, with degrees. They can't find jobs. They have to take a job as a house girl or a shamba boy or something like that. And that is, of course, disheartening because our economy is not as big as it should be, and it's not as big as we should be maximizing its potential. And that is the reason why so many youth don't have jobs and they don't find jobs. So what we need is our economy to expand. Because when we get more investors in, when you start your little cottage industries that I talked about, it will create employment. your present family members who are not employed now may find that by drying the mangoes or doing a little whatever work that you give them, they will find something that is sustainable, that gives them the pleasure and the pride to be involved in because they are doing something for the good of their family. So I do agree that it is a big problem. But if you now see what damage has been done to our nation, in terms of the potential that we had for investment, I lost indeed 2 big Dutch companies who are going to come to Uganda, who now say, put it on hold, because of the situation there. And that is why I said you also have a responsibility. Be my deputy ambassador in the Netherlands. That is what I'm asking you to do. Because Uganda is such an incredibly fertile country. It's not only where we have the mudslides. The whole country is a fertile country. We've been blessed, and like you stated before, we were not for nothing called the pearl of Africa, or the pearl on Africa's crown. That's what we are. Now, that potential, I believe, we have not been able to maximize it. For me, and I drove, I think when I took delegation in February, ambassadors from The Hague and so forth. We went to Bulu and Gera. Now, those are hundreds of kilometers, right? If you see how much land we have passed, which is, well, it looks like it's nobody's land, it may be belonging to somebody, but at least there's no economic activity taking place on that land. And when I see it, it hurts me that we know we have so many unemployed youth. Why can't we persuade them, to work into agriculture? Because agriculture is still the backbone of our society. About 78% of all Ugandans work in agriculture. And maybe when you think you have an academic degree, I'm now going to have a job from 9 to 5 in a nice plush office, that is not maybe where the money is to be made. And if you see, because we have this beautiful program with the best farmers, you may have heard. I received them again in June. I received the best farmers. And there was a group of about 13 best farmers and some others, about 15 people in total. But one of them was an oil engineer, who has decided to make it into agriculture. So you see, and what I have seen, because this program, we've had it for 5 years with the Dutch and the New Vision and the VSU Bank and KLM and all that. We've had this program for a long time, but what you see is that most of the successful farmers are actually those ones who have academic qualifications. So they are willing to put their hands in the dirt and actually earn good money. So we have to have a bit of a mentality change. That is not because you have an academic degree that you can't make your hands dirty in the soil of Africa. Maybe that is where our future is. So, I know I've spoken so long, but thank you so much for listening to me. And please come and visit us anytime in Brussels. I would like to thank all the organizers for having put in so much time and effort to organize this evening.
My 2 colleagues from the University of Tanzania, The Hague, thank you very much for inviting us. We are happy to be with you, our neighbors, brothers and sisters, Tanzania and Uganda. We are family. We are like family. So this is why we are here. I'm bringing you greetings from the people of Tanzania, from the diaspora of Tanzania as well. You're based in The Hague. And congratulations for your 56th anniversary. Congratulations for all what Uganda has done so far in building your country. Congratulations. I didn't know about Nedas. This is the first time that I've heard about Nedas. I hope Nedas is an organization that needs to bring together all East Africans. And I don't know, I'm not sure if we have Tanzanians in Nedas. Maybe you organizers will be able to, you can be able to tell me. And if not, then I've taken a good note of that. And I'll make sure that I bring Tanzanians into Nedas as well. I've been here for 3 years now, and I'm lucky to be here because I've learned one more thing in my life. In my being in the Netherlands, that is Nedas. So I promised that I'm going to bring Tanzanians into Nedas as well. Yeah, thank you. And well, today is not my day to speak. Ambassador has spoken it all. What I want to emphasize from what she said is that we are Africans, and our country needs to be built by us Africans. So you are here in the Netherlands, but remember that Uganda needs you so that it can develop. So don't forget about that. Invest at home. This is what even my president is talking about, investing at home, bring more investors back home so that we can build our country. All other countries are built by their own diaspora. So please, you are here. You have all the opportunities here in the Netherlands, but don't forget, you are Ugandans, you are born in Uganda, and your country needs to be developed, and you are the ones to do that. So I echo the ambassador for that, and I really insist that we should do that. Last but not least is just to say thank you to have met you. Come and visit us when you come to The Hague. We will be happy to receive you. We will be happy to sit together and exchange, ideas, experiences. We should sit down and see how we can develop our country. Thank you very much.
I don't know whether there would be a chance to at least bring a toast.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah? I don't know whether you have your glass, but I would like to raise your glasses even if it's with water. Please feel free. I wanted to say to the prosperity, economic development, yeah, and the health of our countries, Tanzania and Uganda, and the East African community at large, and to you, the diaspora of Tanzania and Uganda present here in the Netherlands. May God bless you. Thank you. And we issued on that day, Friday, 24th of August, we issued 80 certificates of nationality. So I wanted to tell you that maybe you are misinformed. I was told by some of the Ugandan diaspora here that if you take on your Ugandan nationality, you lose your Dutch because the Dutch do not allow dual nationality. It's wrong. It's not true. It's legally not true. I went to the IND, I went to the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, the Protocol Department, and had the whole matter sorted out and briefed our Ministry of Internal Affairs because they would otherwise not have been able to come to Amsterdam to start issuing certificates of nationality if the Dutch would not allow that. You understand? So there are certain conditions that you have to meet. For instance, I believe you have, but I can send you to Frank all the details, the legal details, because I sorted it out. So I can give it to you on email so that you know under which circumstances you can become a Ugandan. I believe most of you will fall under those conditions. You have to show that you have been living 5 years uninterrupted in your home country when you're above 18 years old. So to children that may be a difficult situation, but if you can show us whatever bills or other things that you can show, then you can have, that is now the Dutch law that I'm quoting, yeah? Then you can take on another nationality besides the one for the Netherlands, and you don't have to give up your Dutch nationality. So based on the certificate of nationality that we have issued, I think the next time when we do maybe the third business convention next year, we shall be able to actually physically issue those ones who have that certificate of nationality with actual national identity cards from Uganda.
As you've heard, my name is Dr. Mwale Mubisha. I'm a doctor by profession and also a pedagogy consultant by profession. So I have over 10 years of experience working with children and also helping and educating people who work with children, so like managers and people who make programs for children. And with that, I also then followed a study in The Hague in Netherlands, and actually became qualified as a pedagogic worker. I would like to ask you to come closer because I want to ask you questions. And if there are any kids, they can also please come because this is quite interesting for them as well. So unfortunately, we didn't have a projector, so I will be using my slides. And my topic today, what I would like us to discuss is third culture kids, the concept of third culture kids. In that you hear kids, which is a child, and culture. And if you are to understand what does culture actually mean, culture is a way of being of people which involves the way they think, the way they live, the foods they eat, the way they carry on their daily life. So if we may talk, for example, what are some of those things? If we say you're Ugandan, there is an expectation that there is a certain culture or a way of living of being Ugandan, which can involve many things, for example, food. But a third culture kid is a kind of child, or who then grows up to be a third culture adult, who has, for the most of their formative years, of their developing years, been influenced by a culture different from their own. So if, for example, you're Ugandan and you come to live in the Netherlands, say at the age of 3, formative years are from around 2 years to when you are a young adult, or at least 10. Those are the years which, when you form yourself as a person, your cultures, your beliefs. So if your parents are Ugandan, but you come to live in Holland, they've come to live in Holland, they come with you, a big influence of your life will be the Dutch culture. And so you'll have some aspects of both. It can also be that you are, your parents are maybe Ugandan and you move to Tanzania, and then you live there for 5 years and then move to another country. Then you come to Holland and live there for another 5 years. So for 10 years of your life, you've been significantly influenced by the two cultures, plus your own culture. So it can be third culture, fourth culture, but the whole concept is put as a third culture. You become a third culture kid. And with that comes some challenges, and some of those challenges can actually be advantages. So after describing a third culture kid, and you can identify them in your life, there are also other terms that were developed to describe somebody who has been influenced by many cultures, for example. So then it became not just third culture, but cross-culture. So for example, I consider myself a cross-culture child, and hence a cross-culture adult. Why? In Uganda, we have over 40 different tribes, with cultures not very much the same. So my mother was a Muchiga from the west. My father was a Munyankole from the west. But the Bachiga and the Banyankole are not exactly the same. Even the language is a little bit different. And then when I was 8, we moved to Kampala. And in Kampala, I went to Uganda Road Primary School, where it was mainly Uganda. And we met people from all over different cultures. So some of the things that I experienced growing up, significantly speaking, for example, which always became a challenge, was if you're greeting people, you need to kneel down. That's something you find in Uganda, which I didn't really experience when I was younger, which we didn't do at home. But I either adapted it or I didn't, and when you didn't, people look at you strange. So by the time I was an adult, I had been influenced by several cultures just by living in Uganda. I didn't leave my country, but I was in every way with all the characteristics of a cross-cultural child. So we can look at some other examples of what can be cross-cultural children. They are the traditional third culture kids where you move from one country to another and you grow up in another country. When she was speaking, one of the ladies who spoke about how she raises her children, she said, when you're in the house, it's Uganda. When you're outside, it's Holland. That is a cross-cultural experience. They are children of different culture parents. I see those a lot at work. Mother is French, father is Dutch. They go to the British school or to the French school. So in school there is a different culture. At home, there are two cultures, and some of them could speak both languages. Mother is a Choli, father is a Munyankole. In the home, they will eat Malakwang, but they will also eat Luombo, Kalo, and this child is having influence of both. So children of immigrants, if you look, for example, in the Netherlands, children of people come from Syria, people come from even Uganda, of course. They are living as children of immigrants. They are influenced by two cultures because they are likely to go to that schools, for example. Children of refugees, children of borderlanders. People who live, for example, the border between Tanzania and Uganda will be speaking some Swahili, which is not a typical Ugandan thing. The people on the other side will be doing some things the way Ugandans do. So people who live along the borders, they have cross cultures. And when they come inland, they might actually be seen as strange because they say, oh, I'm Tanzanian. They say, oh, but you speak also a bit of, you sound like Ugandan. So those kinds of situations, the same. People who live along Rosendal, you can imagine, might have some aspects of Belgium. Some even prefer to go and shop in Belgium because they are along the border, so they have an influence of both cultures. Children of minorities and some international adoptees. One of the best friends of my daughter, she's Ugandan in many ways because she's adopted by a Spanish family living in The Hague from Uganda. So she's actually, she's Spanish, but she's adopted from Uganda. So in her influence is the Spanish culture, of course, but she looks in every way Ugandan, so she's a cross-culture kid. So those are some of the scenarios, and there are a lot more scenarios of cultural mixing which you can expect to meet. Now these have challenges as well as advantages. And the foundational questions you'll be hearing all the time among these children is, which of myself am I? Some of your children might have come here with a Ugandan passport, so their passport nationality is Ugandan. But for all their life they live here, and then they probably now have also a Dutch passport. Or some who were born in America have an American passport, and then they come here and have a Dutch passport or a Ugandan passport. At every point they ask, which one am I? The girl who told us here about Uganda at the beginning, she could ask herself, because they say, oh yeah, you're Ugandan, because you're Ugandan, you have Ugandan parents, but she can hardly speak Ugandan. Which one am I? Am I Dutch? Am I Ugandan? Where am I from? Because there are also those children who have moved from one country to another. Their parents have lived in different countries, either because of work or for some reason. Where am I from? And these questions can be confusing. For you as a parent, it seems very clear that, yes, you're Ugandan. but for them it's not as clear as you want it to seem. Where is home? Nowadays, when you're speaking, somebody says, "Oh, I'm going home," and I ask them where. It could be Uganda, it could be England, it could be Holland. Where is home? When I went away for about a week, and then flying back, just landing over Amsterdam, I saw like, oh God, it's good to be home. And then the question is, where is home? This is a very important question for these children, because the question is, where is home? They feel at home here, but of course we tell them your home is in Uganda, and it depends where they feel. This is because the traditional patterns of where you belong, things to do with language, how you look, how you dress, can change. They may no longer exist. What makes you Ugandan may no longer exist because of where you've been. So our talk now is to try and see how can we actually identify those challenges and also the advantages and use them so that these children can actually take advantage of both worlds. They can take advantage of being Ugandan, but they can also take advantage of being Dutch. Like the ambassador said, we have a lot of resources here that we can use. How can they take advantage of those resources wherever they are? Because they are from both countries. So here are some of the ways, because these children have real problems if these issues are not resolved of who am I, where am I from, where is home, they can get real issues. And normally what happens, and they may not tell you because you are the parents, normally what happens is when they find themselves in a foreign culture, they can do four of these things to relate with that foreign culture. So, by the way, later if you want this presentation, then you can let me know and I'll send it to you. They could be the foreigner and talk with your children in school. Or if you know them very well, you want to know which of these four they have adopted. They could be the foreigner. These are the ones who will look different and think different. Look different, of course, here it's easy to look different, your color. But remember also, for example, if you are, most people thought I was from northern Uganda. Just because of the way I looked, I still looked like I was from northern Uganda when I was in Kampala. It's until I spoke, they're like, oh, okay. So you could look different, even in your own country, but among your peers. And they may think different. They may think Ugandan or they may think Dutch. So the same when they go back home, they could actually think different. So the way you think, of course, has been influenced by how you've been raised. So it's one way that they can be, and it's simply that they look different, they can change that. They could also be like the adopted one, they look different, but think alike. This is more common. A child of a Ugandan immigrant will look different, but they may in every way think Dutch. They may think Dutch, act Dutch, and they'll be very surprised when their Dutch counterparts tell them, oh yeah, but you come from Africa, you're different. Yes, they look different, but they very much think Dutch. And so they may eat the sandwich quite comfortably. They may eat one meal a day quite comfortably because they have adapted it, although they look different. So among their friends, they might actually be no different. Speak the language, do everything the way they do. That's like an adopted third culture kid. They've been adopted by the culture. They have literally fitted in. They are those we call the hidden immigrants. The hidden immigrant child will look alike. So, this is very common when you see like somebody from Romania. If they're all just in a crowd, would you think they are maybe not Dutch? Because they look Dutch. If you just look at them, they may just look like everybody else. This also happens, like for example, people from immigrants into Netherlands from the EU, but also local immigrants. Like if it is in Uganda, you've come from the northern part of Uganda and you're in Kampala, well, you look alike, you look like everybody else, but you think different. And this can be at many levels. When they say, okay, everybody, let's eat our lunch, and then you open your women kneeling for men, not being reciprocated. If it was about respect, men should also then kneel. And that was a big discussion, and people threw tantrums about it, and I was thinking, well, as a third culture kid, I see, more than that. But it can bring some confusion. So they have an expanded worldview, but they also can have confused loyalties. Easiest way to look at it, again, am I Ugandan, am I Dutch? So I may feel very Dutch, although my parents insist I'm Ugandan. I might, yes, accept I'm Ugandan. But what about if Holland, and my son always asks me this, in future, when Uganda starts to play the World Cup, if Holland is playing Netherlands, if Uganda is playing Netherlands, who will I support? That's a very valid question for a child, because they feel Dutch because they have lived here, but they also feel very much Ugandan because I've made them to think so. So they can have confused loyalties. Talk about simple things like, indeed, simple daily things, what you see as Ugandan and what they see as Dutch when there is a clash. They get very confused. And when Ambassador Black talked about this, I remember a conversation, a very heated one I had when we came from the convention, the economic convention. My husband and I gave someone a lift back to The Hague. And the topic of having a white ambassador came up. And it was very heated because she was saying, it is a show of inferiority. Don't we have black Ugandans who can do the job? Because what are we telling to the rest of the world? So I turned it around and I said, and more often I find myself having to defend situations like that because I grew up as a third culture kid among cultures, so for me it is different. I said, what do you think for your children who have grown up here and they go through school, they get interested maybe in politics or something, and they are Dutch? What about 15 years from now, if they were selected to be the ambassador to the US or to China? Are you then saying they shouldn't because Holland should have enough white people to do that? And that was a challenge because I said, if we are saying, because I said, she is Ugandan. She's not Dutch, she is Ugandan by nationality. What would exclude her from holding a position that is open to all Ugandans who qualify? But when we got home, my son asked me, said, why is she so angry about that? Because for them, at that age, they don't see color. They don't see things like that until we make it a significant factor from what we discuss with them. So their view of life is bigger. When it comes to solving problems, you can see third culture kid leaders tend to fare better at diplomacy. Look at President Obama. Most of his solutions were more diplomatic because they see the world. When they come to the table to discuss, they are seeing, they can put themselves in your shoes because they've been a foreigner or they've been in a strange place or they've been misunderstood before because of who they are. Most people call him Hussein Mubarak, they say he must be Muslim. So when you're talking about anti-Islamic, he can understand how it feels because he's been there. So you find that they have an expanded view of life. They also can see life in a three-dimensional way. They can see different aspects. If they've been through Uganda, they've understood Uganda, and then they see on the TV, like maybe like how the landslide happened in Uganda, they are really able to think and feel the pain that they feel. Because it could be my brother, it could be my relative, it could be uncle so-and-so, and sometimes they'll ask, have you checked if uncle so-and-so is okay? Was he there? Because they can feel, they relate. But that can also be that they feel more at a disadvantage when situations like this come in. So somebody who's lived in Malaysia and then there is an earthquake in Malaysia, they can be really more affected by it, even just by seeing it on the news. So it can go both ways. And they have a cross-cultural enrichment. They can tell you, they can say hello in how many different languages because they've been there or they have a friend there. But the disadvantage is they can have a very deep ignorance of their home culture if it has not been imparted on them. So that is where we have to bring in the solution to make sure they don't only know about the world, they also know about home, because then they will not be ignorant. So when they are talking about Uganda with friends and somebody says something, they can actually say, no, actually that's not true. Because I've been to Uganda, we don't live under the tree. We have a big house with a swimming pool and they can really say it because they've been there. So in addition, some of the practical skills they can develop which can help them professionally and also in life. Their language skills, of course, they can speak more than one language. They can be effective cultural bridges. If it comes to this against this, maybe they belong to both. That's why in African tradition, chiefs made people marry from other tribes because then you cannot really fight us if you have our daughter. So they can think outside the box very often. You can actually give them answers without getting them emotional and also give them the strength of the advantage of being who they are. You can bring it to them. You can also empathize with them, but it's important to listen more to their concerns than judge them. Because your judgment is based on your experience, how you were raised. So when they come and tell you something like, oh, that's stupid, they'll never talk to you again because they know you will never understand. So then they will not talk to you. So you can empathize more and listen more than judge, and then you can advise. You can look out for their well-being. If your child tells you, most of the people in my school think I'm different, don't take it lightly. Sometimes you might need to change school. If you think that the school your child in does not really understand being cross-cultural, especially if the emphasis is on the child being Dutch. Because schools should also understand that these kids, although they are Dutch, they are also influenced by other culture, the home culture. So if you find that your child is having problems, sometimes it's possible to fix it, but sometimes it's not. Find a place where they can feel free to express themselves without feeling guilty of who they are. And then talk positively and expose them positively to their own culture, to their food, to their language. When they're talking, oh, how do we greet in different languages, and maybe it's a topic they're doing, and your child cannot greet in their language, then the friends are saying, I thought you're Ugandan, how do they greet in Uganda? They don't know. Then they feel confused, why can't I do that? And when I was, looking into things like that, I started to develop some resources. Use your skills to bridge some of these gaps. So I started to develop some literature resources. One thing these cross-cultural kids do is they love to read, which is not very common to us because we were forced to read. They love to read. So make literature available, positive literature about their culture. Look out for books about their culture, let them read about it, and then they can be able to talk about it. And be cautious when you're talking to them about the negative things of your culture. Not to say hide your face under the sand, no, but be cautious. Because when you find that you have somebody who completely, all the time, a parent who all the time talks negatively about the Dutch culture, oh, the Dutch are this, the Dutch are that, the Dutch are that, the child takes it on. And they can actually be affected by it because they begin to despise their own culture. So be cautious, but also explain, of course, not everything about every culture is good. So even the Dutch culture, they might have some things that are really not good. But be cautious when you point these things out, because sometimes they are too young to understand these things. But bring them out as much as you can.
The chairman of Nedas, to come and say hello to us, tell us a bit about what the day is about, welcome our guests, especially the ambassadors. And then I'll ask him to introduce the next speaker, Mr. Andrew Wanyango. Mr. Robert, please come.
I would like to thank Dr. Molin for that inspiring presentation. But then I would like to say something also about our problems in the society. I think most of our problems, they are rising out of culture failure. We have failed in culture. President Angela Merkel said one day, she was very angry, and she said, multiculturalism has failed in Europe, and people didn't understand. But when you go in these child protections where they keep the children you find most are our children. Most of the child protection care places, they are our children. Why? We have failed to integrate in the system, and we want our children to fully live as we did when we are young, and the children cannot live like that. So we fight. I have a gentleman also there. One day he had a problem with his daughter. He fought hard, very hard in his house. And one day he talked to me about his problem. He said, I'm one of scam taker. And literally meaning I cannot understand my child anymore. We are fighting in the house. But unfortunately, when the girl goes out of the house, they tell her, yeah, you are Dutch, you have your rights, you don't have to clean the house, you can behave the way you are. And she comes back and she insults the father. And the father gets very angry and says, hey, how do you insult me? Hey, I'm your father. You shouldn't even talk to me like that, you know. So, these are very tough problems. Very tough. We have to find solutions because Nedas, these are the things that every day we meet. They come, they tell us a lot of families, not a lot, at least some few families, they have taken their children. Some parents are suffering in the community. Their children, they have taken them away. Why? Simply because before even we know what happened, the problem was the parent failed to understand the system. If you understand the system, then you try to say, okay, I'll behave, I'll try to raise my kid in accordance with two cultures. I'll try to enable my kid to know our values. You don't reply me like that because that's how I was, nature. You have to find a way of telling her, okay, when you go out, as she said, actually, she said it very well. When you go out, behave like that, but when you come in my house, you have to behave like how I did, but try to explain, because we are not used to explaining. For us, it was like, hey, you don't answer an elder like that. And you also want to do like that. You have to explain to your child that, this is the situation. But we are angry, we are impulsive, we behave in all the ways that as if we are back in Uganda, and that doesn't work. So thank you very much, Doctor. I hope people have questions, but if there are no questions, I would like to say something. Our guests, the ambassadors, would like to congratulate you, Miriam Black, for our independence. Yes, and also thank you very much for coming here, because we knew you had a double invitation. And we are a bit skeptical if you're going to come. But thank God you came, and we needed you here on this day. So also I would like to thank the Tanzanian ambassador also. It was a short notice, but we intend to issue next year to issue earlier notices, at least to schedule it and to know, okay, in October I will be at this occasion. We are sorry about that, but we are trying to, you know, to adapt to the Dutch system. But what I would like to know you to know is that at this moment our country is experiencing a lot of upheavals. But we in the diaspora, we have to focus on development because we have a lot of things to develop. From the family, you know, to ourselves, we have to develop. Okay, at this juncture, I would like to welcome the ambassador of Burundi. Welcome.
My topic of discussion is about positive attitude towards work. Vis-a-vis what majority of our friends and colleagues around the society, both within the Netherlands and out, kind of a mindset that they do have. I thought I would throw some bit of light on what would be good or what I think probably would be of importance for most of you. First and foremost, I'll begin by introducing what I mean by work. Of course, it's obvious, getting involved in paid employment. But the reason why I'm bringing up this is because when you live in the Netherlands, it's quite interesting that most people get to a point where they get almost each and everything on a silver plate. For those of you who know the outcaring point of view, whereby the government takes care of you when you just come in the country, and at the end of the day, you still get this kind of support all through your entire time in some of these countries, if you really don't think you need to do something else. And this is my main point of concern that I wanted to probably share with you. Away the fact that if you're skilled, or if you want to have the ability to have the skills, that you can have the same competitive edge with these same people that are in the job market. I know quite a number of people who are also coming from the migrant background, who are actually doing jobs that are really competitive alongside that they really have to go ahead and compete with the nationals from this country. So if these people can make it, it also means that you too can make it, but it also comes from the point that you need to change your mindset. But this is possible with you. And if it's possible with someone else, you too can also make it. Some people say that the only jobs that I can get are probably funny jobs of that do not fit with my status or my level of education, or how will they see me that I'm doing this kind of job. But the whole thing is, how do you penetrate the market? How do you penetrate the job market at large? Before I get into that point of how to penetrate the job market, I'll also a little bit give the second advantage of being employed. Most people here have lived here for quite a long time. I know those who have lived here 20 years, 30 years, and I'm sure there are those who have been here 40 years or most of their entire time in the Netherlands. But if you're going to remain on social benefits as an individual, there are things that you should forget about. things like you as an individual developing in this country, because the fact is you chose to live in the Netherlands means that you're spending almost all your adulthood life in the Netherlands, and this is more like your home. Development cannot be only, I don't really believe that it should only be one-sided. You can develop in the Netherlands and also develop in Uganda. It's something that you can do, but you can only do this when you have a changed mindset that this is possible. I can give an example. Some people, you know, people who have got mortgages and have houses. Actually, people think mortgages may be a liability. To some point it is, but it's a future investment on the other hand. Because you're paying rent every day because you're not going to sleep on the street, and nobody sleeps on the street in the Netherlands. I'm pretty sure, except mostly the migrants, nobody's going to sleep on the street. But you're paying this rent to the landlord, and this money is going every single month, whereas you're growing old every single year. You get it? But if you're on social benefits, there is no way you can have the opportunity to be able to get a mortgage in the Netherlands. Because the first thing they flag out is they consider you not to have a source of income. Even if the fact that you receive some money from government and you're able to use this money for your personal bills, but they consider this as not income, and you cannot qualify to get a mortgage. This mortgage is something that you can benefit on as time goes by when you grow old. Because at the end of the day, if you say, well, for me, I raise my hand in the Netherlands, I'm going back to Uganda, then what happens? Will you just go back with your bag to Uganda? I don't think that should be the best way. If you have a mortgage, this means you can say, well, I think I need to sell this house. I may not have finished all the money through, but at least I've paid for the last 20 years, and the amount of money that I've paid has also gained because most of the assets in housing always gain value. And at the end of the day, you'll be like, well, I can sell this house and let me go home with at least 200,000 euros. And I start my elderly life in Uganda, which is something that is quite fairer than when you have to pay rent for the rest of your life. And when you're going back to your country, you're going back with only your bag. My third advantage that I think working is quite important is that you build a network of people. There's a saying that goes that your network is your network. This saying, if you don't really analyze this statement, you may never get to know what exactly the content is. But the more people you know who are credible, the more your worth grows. This comes in a way that if you're planning to do a business in a given area, and you know a certain group of people who can help you, these are the people who can become potential investors in your business or in your idea, which can help you to grow and build up something from scratch, and then promote or build a network. Some people cut deals, then you're like, oh, someone has made a deal of this, but a deal of a given amount of money is not going to find you at home. You need to reach out to people who matter in order to be able to access this kind of advantages. And this is through networking. And you can get networking when you are working, for instance, in a job, engaging yourself in certain activities that involve different diversity of people, trying to cut the boundaries from your culture. Not that, one thing that I've noticed over time is that most people want to associate only within their reach. Like if I'm a Ugandan, my community should only be where I can reach.
When you have an income, you can actually invite people. You can go to the IND and invite people to come and visit you, your own relatives. Because I have a lot of people come to me asking, can you help me invite this person? They have money because they make money, but they don't have gainful income. So when they look in the system, how can you be inviting people when you're on outcaring? So that is one reason that I think should be important to know, because only when you need it, you realize that it would have been better if you are working. The second reason, this is for parents, people who have children. I always bring everything back to children. One mother asked me, because she was on social support and they were pressuring her to go to work, And every job she got, she felt was not good enough, so she didn't accept the job. After all, she had outcarried. And later she asked me, she said, I really now need to decide if I go to work or not, but when I work, what I earn in the end is the same as what I get on outcarry, on social support. But then what's the point of waking up every day to go to work when I'm going to end up earning the same? I asked her, she has 3 children. I asked her, what do you want your children to be when they grow up? She wanted one of them to be a doctor, one of them to be an engineer, and I don't remember what the third one should be. I asked her, when your children go to school, what do they think you do when you stay at home? She said, they know I stay at home, I clean the house, I go to the market and everything. I said, so your children know that you don't earn your income? She said, yes, because the youngest is 9. So I asked her, how will you tell your children you study hard and get a job and earn an income when they have never seen you earn an income? That was a very serious question. I said, you're raising your children to know that they can just sit at home and the government will take care of them. So how will you tell your child, you need to work hard and be a doctor, when they've never seen you work hard? A week later, she told me she had found a job. And since that time, I realized that we actually need to put things into perspective, because you can stay at home and still be paid by the government. But what are you telling your children? The only way we can break the cycle of poverty, because immigrants in Holland are among the poorest, just in case you didn't know. They are very poor. Yes, they can have, every May you get money to go for holidays from the country, some which they used to buy iPhones. You tell them buy books for the kids. They get money for children's educational support. They use it to send it back home. And so the children are going to end up in the same poverty cycle, and every generation will be